It's time. Two legends. One destiny. All roads end here. Mayweather-Pacquiao, May 2nd, live on pay-per-view.
Lesnar, and you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Yo, hi, this is Sugar Ray Leonard, and you listen to Fight Net Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to listen to Fight Net Radio.
Me, Harvey Oswald, what's your name? How am I supposed to know you?
This is Frank Shamrock. We're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Hi, this is Nia, the Knockout St. John. You're listening to Fight Net Radio, and there's no way I would ever touch Lee.
This is Chuck Jackson of the Dell.
I am Stephen Bonner, and you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Dan Henderson, you're listening to Fight Net Radio.
Everybody, welcome to Fight Net Radio, where Lee's burning every bridge there is out there. All right.
Hi, this is Manny Pacquiao. I'll fight anybody on FightNetRadio.com.
Wow, welcome to Fight Net Radio. And why do I say wow? Because if you didn't listen to this week's episode, boy, did you miss out. We are clearly talking about things on this podcast / broadcast that nobody else is talking about. And we talk about MMA. That's Bobby Kabuki. He is our resident expert of all bets, big and small. Over on the far right and way down near the ground is Rebecca Ryan Long.
Wait, why am I down near the ground?
Come on, what are you, 3 feet? 3 feet 5?
I am 5 feet on a good day. Thank you.
In hooker heels.
In hooker heels, yeah, I agree.
Oh, Bobby, you and your fetish with me in heels.
I just almost choked on water.
All right.
Bam.
So today's episode is a little bit of a curveball, and I wanted to get the attention of our esteemed staff. Today's episode are the 7 female athletes who should pursue MMA, and I actually wanted the feedback of our team on this. Are you guys ready?
Let's go.
All right. I actually have to take... Wow. How old are you? I have to take my glasses off to read. Really?
Oh, you're getting old.
I am. That was bad. I have the glasses are too big. All right. Let us begin. First name up is Kayla Harrison. She is in judo. She's a Pan Am judo player, gold medalist, world judo championship gold medalist, first American gold medalist in judo. So, the big question that I ask for you, Bobby, because this is a fairly big name, seems like a perfect fit for MMA, and with all the money between Bellator, MMA, I guess the real question is MMA or WWE, because she's an attractive girl too.
I have a sneaking suspicion that Kayla Harrison will end up in the UFC before long. She's very Ronda Rousey-esque with her compete level. She's a high-level athlete. I mean, she has no problem, keeping herself at weight. She's just incredible on the mat. And I really think that she's going to be the next one. And she has the ability to get down to that bantamweight as well. She used to compete at 138 pounds. So she can get down to that bantamweight and maybe, compete with Ronda Rousey. And can you imagine the way they could build that fight?
Well, yeah, and that's what we were talking about last week, which is there's nobody organically being built for Ronda after she gets through. I mean, ultimately it comes down to her and Christina, and then after Christina, there is nothing. It is the equivalent of Mayweather and Pacquiao. Once that fight happens, which will be probably the highest earning gate for the UFC in quite some time, and for some time to come, actually, I would believe, you've got to start building, high-level athletes for her to fight. And I agree with you. That's a really good choice.
Yeah, I think that, just with the way the climate of the fight game is right now and the buzz around women's MMA, I think it would be the perfect time for her to strike because she comes in with that great name recognition. I mean, she'll get pushed even harder than they pushed Sarah McMahon, and they pushed the heck out of Sarah McMahon. So I really think that it would be great for the UFC, it would be great for judo, and it would definitely be great for the fans.
Rebecca?
I agree. Obviously, what's the biggest thing that we talk about in fighting?
You don't know
is,
anything
like you
about her,
mentioned-
do you, Rebecca? Come on, be
I
honest.
do. I'm actually staring at her picture, and I actually have comments on the next girl. I prepared. Jeez. Anybody that.
By the way, Bobby
doesn't
didn't have to prepare. He actually knew all that about her.
Well, that's because Bobby's a creeper and he stalks female athletes. Okay, big difference.
Stop it.
We've all got a fetish.
Yeah, mine's Henrik Lundqvist, by the way, all right? The Rangers goaltender. Let's just get it out there, all right? The only fetish I have is the New York Rangers goaltender, all right? Stop now.
Wait, here's how
Bobby just
naive I am about hockey. Are you telling me the Kings aren't in it this time, Bobby? Didn't they win like 2 in a row?
Yep, but the Kings are unfortunately watching from home, and Jarrett Stoll, one of the players on the Kings, is getting busted at Wet Republic for cocaine.
Nice! See?
Yeah,
Breaking stories left and right.
Pretty juicy.
Wet Republic. Good times.
It's like,
when I was young and
that's a
dumb.
place to do coke.
Well, look, if I had to pick between Rehab and Wet Republic, it's kind of 50-50, but if I'm going to do blow, it's going to be at Rehab for sure.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, man. Rehab is a place I wouldn't go anytime soon. I've seen the crowd that's been going to Rehab lately.
Are they still letting the strippers go for free?
I don't know if there's any strippers, but I've seen a few two-legged manatees in like mesh shirts and stuff, and it's pretty scary.
Tragic. They used to let the strippers go there on Sundays for free. See what happens when you drop your standards?
Yeah, imagine.
All right, Rebecca, I'm just giving you a hard time. Tell me what you think.
No, I mean, the only thing I had to say was that, just kind of chiming in on what Bobby said, is that anybody that doesn't have an issue with cutting weight or making weight, and with that kind of original background that Ronda had, you would think realistically should do well, because that's kind of where Ronda's at in general. I mean, I don't know how she stands up to Ronda in sorry, I'm just still getting over a cold. I don't know how she stands up to Ronda per se, but the fact that she does have, like I said, the judo background and she doesn't have any issues cutting weight, I mean, that's right there, the basics for at least potentially doing well in the sport, right?
No, and that's the only reason. I mean, when we go to the next athlete, who's Adeline Gray,
which is the opposite end.
It's the opposite end. And that's what I would say about Adeline Gray. And, everything is about now Dana trying to find female athletes that he can feed and build up the division. And when you talk about Adeline Gray, who's a world champion wrestler, who does not like to cut weight, I can safely say she's going to try to marry off. She's not going to see anything. There's no pro wrestling. There's no MMA. This is it. When she's done with college, she's done with the sports. That I guarantee it. She might teach it. She might open a gym. She might be a champion at a gym. But Adeline Gray is the best wrestler in the one of the best wrestlers in the United States. She's the best female wrestler, period, bar none. But she doesn't like to cut weight. End of story. It's all over. There's no discussion. What do you say?
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the biggest thing you need, is to be able to do that in order to be in a certain, I guess, category that's going to challenge you. Is that right?
Yes. Bobby, what do you think about Adeline?
I think that, when you have somebody that's that great of a wrestler, she would be a fantastic addition to MMA, but I don't see her ever coming over to MMA. I think her focus will be on stuff like the Olympics, and then after that, I could see her ending up, coaching at, a huge school, maybe one of these programs. They have some really great women's programs, wrestling programs throughout the country, and I think that you can end up seeing her there, or even with the national team scoring a gig as a coach there.
I completely agree. Which takes us to candidate number 3, Tiffany Van Soest.
Time bomb,
the WBC Muay Thai champion. Thank you, Access TV. Tiffany's great. I don't know why she hasn't made the move already.
Well, she
kickboxing,
has an MMA fight.
Well, here's the thing.
Under her belt already.
Yeah, but she's happier over it's Lion Fights, right? Yeah, it's Lion Fights Championship.
Lion Fights.
She loves it. And back in the day, Rebecca, back when you and I were into MMA, when it was just a kidling, it wasn't a wrestling background you needed. It wasn't a Brazilian jiu-jitsu background you needed. Everybody trained kickboxing.
You needed Muay Thai.
It was all Muay Thai.
Uh-huh.
Oh, my gosh. In fact, that seems to be still the primary factor. I think she'd do fantastically in the UFC. I can't imagine that Lion Fights is paying her that much, Bobby.
You know, she's a huge draw for Lion Fights, and believe it or not, Lion Fights puts on a great production. That their contract with Access TV, I'm sure, is bringing them in decent enough revenue to keep some of their stars happy. And I've been to several of their events here in Vegas, a couple at the Joint and then one over at the Pearl. And I've seen Tiffany fight a few times, and I'll tell you what, she's legit. Her striking's great. It's very crisp. She throws straight punches, no looping shots, no wild nonsense. She stands in the pocket and bangs. I think that if she would get with a camp, maybe like Team Alpha Male, where Paige Van Zant's at, and get her wrestling base down, I think that she could have a shot to really do some damage in MMA.
Alina Perzakova, another wrestler. You got to love it. Another world champion, another bantamweight, and she's into it. She's into the work ethic. She's an immigrant Russian. Always like the Russian chicks. They're crazy.
Of course she's into work ethic. She's
into the bantamweight division. She'd be great for the UFC bantamweight division. Everything seems to work out. Here's the one thing I really haven't seen out of the UFC, Bobby, and maybe I'm wrong. They haven't really gone international yet on the women's division.
No, there really aren't too many international women they've got so far. A lot of Brazilian women, a couple of Japanese women. But, you know, mainly what you have is you have a lot of American women because, you know, people say, women's MMA it's not, you know, evolved to a point yet where it's very super competitive. And that's even more true outside of the United States because the wrestling base in Europe is it's nowhere near. I mean, the women's wrestling in America is light years ahead of Europe besides like Russia and Iran.
Yeah. Well, Russia, when it comes to wrestling and sambo, I don't know how it translates to the women. I mean, but maybe we should refresh the entire crew of the world. Back in the day when I used to watch MMA all the time and I lived and breathed it, the baddest man on the planet was named Fedor Emelianenko.
Oh, yeah.
And Fedor he had one discipline and one discipline only, and it was sambo wrestling.
Yep.
And he was a legit thug like his brother who killed people in jail. Beyond that, and being tied up with the mob, allegedly.
And palling up with Putin at every friggin' event in Russia.
Absolutely. I don't know if does wrestling filter down. Does sambo filter down in Russia?
You know, I'll tell you what, they have great freestyle wrestlers in Russia. You know, Olympic style wrestlers and folk style wrestlers and Greco even. You know, it's the combat sports in Russia have always been huge, especially wrestling style sports. So that's, you know, obviously sambo is a form of ground fighting as well, but it's a little more technical. Obviously, they have a lot more striking than most, you know, grappling techniques. I mean, disciplines.
I'm a freestyle wrestler. Greco is better for stand-up. Freestyle, like me, is better for the ground. What is sambo really more of a discipline for, Bobby?
There's a lot of submissions with sambo too. Okay. A lot of leg locks. You'll see a lot of these sambo practitioners. You know, and there's a lot of guys that have come over from Russia lately, and a lot of them are in Bellator and spread out across America. But you'll see these guys from like Chechnya, and they're all sambo fighters. So there's a whole new generation of sambo fighters coming out of that part of the world, and mainly Dagestan and Chechnya right now.
All right, Rebecca, who's the most famous Greco wrestler / MMA practitioner / biggest MMA star?
Greco wrestler.
I bet Bobby gets it. He already got it from the clues, so I can hear Bobby scribbling on his pad. But
okay,
what do you think it is?
Hold on. And he doesn't fight anymore, correct?
Does not fight anymore. He has retired officially.
Okay, so that would be Chuck Liddell.
No, Chuck was freestyle.
I know, I'm kidding.
Chuck Liddell was Taco Bell parking lot.
Yeah, completely.
I have to do I'm gonna have to do some updated Chuck Liddell stories. Tales of Chuck Liddell.
Okay.
I'll do it as Mauro Ranallo. Tales of Chuck Liddell.
We need to do the towel.
Hello, this is Mauro Ranallo of Showtime. I do a great Mauro Ranallo, I think, but it's in my head. Okay, who do you think it is, Rebecca? Come on, you can do it.
I don't know. I'm going to feel stupid when I don't
Bobby,
say
who
it,
is the most famous retired Greco-Roman wrestler who had success in the UFC?
I'd have to say Randy Couture.
Absolutely correct. Ding, 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 ding. And why is that, Rebecca? How did he fight? Standing up against the cage and grind the crap out of him. He tried to do it to the big Brock Lesnar.